What's up, world? It's the reason I'm doing this video like this, because I just want to reach out to y'all and really just express real time, like what's going on with me. I say about 6 days ago, I got I had a head injury to the back of my head where I had tripped and fell out. I was out and I tripped and fell, hit the back of my head on the carpeted floor. And I didn't go to the hospital. Cause a lot of you that know me, like, I really got an anxiety issue with the hospital, especially with all of the research that I found out about my daughter that passed away in the hospital related to her immunizations and whatnot. I spent a lot of time living in the hospital with my daughter, so it's a lot of psychological, philosophical bullshit and ass games that I picked up on that the staff play to kind of silence you into doing things that they want you to do to make sure that they secure their bag, regardless to if it's comfortable to you or not. So going through that situation with my daughter put me in a space where if I ain't dying, if I ain't damn near about to croak, like, don't take me to the hospital. I want y'all to know that right now. Like, I'd gladly die where I stand, like, just off the strength of what I don't fuck with the hospital like that. And, but after a couple days, the pain in my head was kind of, I guess, getting a little too much for me to handle the rest that night. It's, so I woke up one day and I decided, like, okay, even though I feel how I feel, let's go. And mind you, at the time, I didn't know how bad the injury was. I just knew that I was able to get up and I knew my whereabouts and my birth date and all of that good stuff. So that's why I decided not to receive medical attention initially. But upon going to the hospital, they informed me that I had a minor skull fracture in the back of my head and that I had bruising in a couple spots on my brain, which basically correlated to the areas that's been giving me the most issues. And a number of doctors took a look at my CAT scan, which is basically the x-ray of the head. And it was consistent, like, you got some bruising, and being that it's been 4 to 5 days, given what they're looking at, you seem to be healing fine. But they understood why the pain was, I guess, like, amplifying over days, because as the swelling was going down in my head, certain senses were, returning to normal, and I was starting to feel things that was already damaged. Whereas, like, I feel like it was just kind of numbing a few areas. Like, even, like, my lower back, like, after a couple days, a couple little aches started to be a little more prevalent in my sensory. So they understood why that was the case after a couple days when the swelling started going down. So the conclusion was like, okay, you're stable. The idea that you've been able to be stable for X amount of days basically shows us that you don't have any severe bleeding going on. However, we would like to monitor you over the next day to just, do another CAT scan after a day, see if there's anything progressively getting worse or what's the deal. At this point, they're pretty much only giving me, pain medicine to kind of deal with my headache and Benadryl. So that was pretty much the case. Talked about 4 or 5 doctors, and they all expressed the same thing, especially after they went and looked at the CAT scan, observed my symptoms. They wanted to transfer me over to another hospital that had the neurologist specialist, right? And in me being transferred, I realized that the memo from the first hospital wasn't necessarily transferred over to the next hospital with clarity, and they started dealing with me like I had a fresh head injury, like I was in a life or death situation, like this was just fresh and they needed to put me in the intensive care unit and monitor my heart and monitor my blood flow and monitor this and monitor that, which was something totally opposite from what all of the previous doctors suggested. So even though they're like going to these extra extremes, what I feel, I'm being calm, cool, and collected and going along with the flow. But then it got to a point where it's just like, okay, we about to take it down. They letting me know they're going to be checking my vitals every so often throughout the night. And then they started like attaching a series of monitors to me that just started to make my whole resting situation almost as impossible as it was before I came. Like that was the whole point of why I even came, because I was having challenges resting for long periods of time. So I had like 7, 8 heart monitor sticker things all up and down my chest and stomach. They wanted to wrap the thing, stick around my finger, put something else on another finger. They wanted to wrap some cuffs around my calves that inflated and deflated every couple of minutes. They wanted to put me in a bed that inflated and deflated with the idea to help me not clot blood. And it got to the point where it was just too much. It was wires all cross tangled. And let me address the idea that my blood pressure upon arrival to the first hospital, second hospital, going on a ride in the ambulance, leaving the ambulance, going up to the ICU, my blood pressure was always registered as normal. Always registered normal. And no heart issues. They had been monitoring me the whole time I was with them at both hospitals. So I ultimately got to the point where I'm still cool, calm, and collected like this. And I let my mom know, like, look, I can't deal with all of these monitors attached to me because this isn't assisting me resting right now. And that's the biggest thing that I need to assist in my healing right now, especially given we know what the issue is. And I took the heart monitors off my body, and I was able to position myself in a comfortable manner. Let me add that the actual fractures in the back of my head, and they want me to lay on my back, on the back of my head, and I'm expressing to them that like how I'm laying right now on my side or on my back, on my stomach, or it's pretty much the only comfortable space that I've discovered that I could even get an hour of rest undisturbed. But all of that was just irrelevant to what they were attempting to do with me. So my whole front torso, stomach, chest, everything is full of stickers, heart monitors, and whatever. I took them off, and I was able to adjust myself, get a little more comfortable. And of course, at this point, alarms are going off because of what I detached. And two nurses come in, and I'm still calm, cool, and collected. I know they're gonna make an issue about me taking things off, but I'm like, I have a simple request. And if you came in this tone right here, so I have a simple request. Either I can stay without these heart monitors, or if it's too much for y'all to step outside y'all parameters or y'all protocol, I will leave. Even though I'm going through an extreme situation, I'm like, the way that y'all moving doesn't seem to be tailor-made to what I'm saying that I'm going through. So with this tone, I'm like, hey, I could leave if what I'm requesting is too much for y'all to adhere to. And before I could even get it all out, both of the nurses are barking at me, yelling. Not in the, oh, we're trying to care about you and let you know what's the best thing for you to do. No, they're like barking at me like, you can't leave. You absolutely cannot leave. We admitted you and you're unable to leave. You know, they're talking to me in this type of fashion. I'm still cool, calm, and collected, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening to the risks. They want to give me this long list of risks about the heart monitor. You know, they giving me the regurgitated bullshit they tell everybody that doesn't have nothing to do with me. And after they finish, I looked them both in the eye and I said, I could either lay back down without these heart monitors that I neatly stacked up right here for you guys to retrieve, or I will leave. I'm fine with gambling with my life, whatever consequences may come behind that. You don't have to worry about that. I leave. And they kept on wanting to keep regurgitating risks and risks as if I didn't give them a direct request. I go to simply stand up to go to retrieve my clothes. And the nurse, the male nurse, who was a male and a female, white male, white female, he forcibly grabs my arm while I'm in the middle of going to stand up in an aggressive, violent manner. Grabs my arm, and he goes to forcibly sit me down. Now, I don't fight the force, cause in the moment I'm trying to not blow my top and just make this a physical thing. That's why I even chose to take the calm approach that I did take. And at this point, I felt like this nurse was just totally outside his parameters of how he was dealing with me, how he was talking to me, and how he chose to put his hands on me. So at that point, he's raising his voice at me. He's yelling at me. And at this point, shit, I'm raising my voice like, motherfucker, you this not your job to be forcibly making me sit down. Like, you a nurse, bro. Like, this, we can agree to disagree. Like, I know y'all got forms that I could sign to go against y'all will and the whole nine. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have the authority to forcibly sit me down. So when the doctor, other nurses, security, you know, they have all of the security come to my room like I'm the agitator or whatever, right? The actual doctor informs me that we can take the heart monitors off. There's no issue with that. Doop, doop, boop. I'm like, okay. But at this point, I have an extreme issue with this nurse. And I'm like, I need his name. I want his manager. He totally overstepped his boundaries and how he put his hands on me, how he's talking to me. And even in the midst of the nurse, the doctor clearing up what I'm able to do, or what they will allow me to do, he's literally like I'm a little child and he's an adult, like looking at me in my eyes like, stop, stop, stop. And I let him go on like 4 or 5 times till I just like, motherfucker, who you talking to? Like, you are totally outside your boundaries of how the fuck you think you talking to me. So he leaves the room. The doctor tells me, like, we could take that off. We can do that. And I'm like, okay, I need his information, though, because we're not about to skip over how he just overstepped his boundaries, how he put his hands on me. So they went on to refuse to give me his information. They went on to refuse to give me the manager's information. The only thing that they wanted to keep forcing down my throat is that I had to sign this paperwork before I can get any additional information out of anybody, which I felt was totally out of order. I probably asked for this man's information over 20 times, and they just kept shoving this paper in my face. Till I asked, how much money you making off this shit? They tell me $8,000. I said, well, enjoy your fucking vacation trip with your kids then. Get the fuck out my face and let me leave. So, as I'm leaving, one of the doctors, they start lying about, we can't let you leave because if you try to leave, we're going to be forced to forcibly put you back into the bed. In that moment, now I'm torn because I'm like, am I going to have to deal with a physical altercation with security guards that's standing right there in this type of mental state right now? Or can I just simply just freely walk out of this door? So I took the second decision and I chose to turn around and follow the exits to lead me out the door. And once I made that decision, I could hear the doctor and the police officer deflate their whole little threat that they just gave me and was just like, yeah, I'll walk them to the door. In the tone that would suggest that she was giving me empty threats that had no merit behind them. I get downstairs. Mind you, police officer, he's all cool, calm, and collected. We get downstairs. We come across another police officer. To my surprise, he's asking this police officer, is this the patient that assaulted the medical professional? At this point, I told both of them, suck my dick. Both of y'all bitches. Like, that's what the fuck message y'all spreading throughout the hospital? And that's how this medical professional dealing with me in the ICU? Not to add that every nurse that came into the room after the fact was trying to justify why he put his hands on me the way he did. Every time he yelled at me, you was silent. No one said anything. Anytime I raised my voice, I was a threat, and more police came. So they tried to flip it around to the point that I was the one that assaulted the person, when in fact I'm just trying to leave because I refuse to be handled any type of way. So at this point in time, I'm at home. I don't trust them. I will die where I stand with honor if that's what's necessary, but I'm not about to get strung through no bullshit just for the sake of motherfuckers making some money. So I just want to share this with y'all. For anybody that care, need your support, get my Cash App. I'm in the process of getting me a lawyer. I'm suing the hospital. I'm suing the nurse. So I'm in the process of talking to a couple attorneys. Help me out, y'all. I'm literally, I got a skull fracture right now, and they're trying to railroad me into making me be I don't even have the energy to be an aggressor right now, y'all. Like, real talk, man. So anybody willing to help, please hit the Cash App. Much love.